Thanks everyone for being here on the Solar Objections live action role play. I am Solar Joe, and today we have superstar Solar Pro Cameron McBeth. And Cameron's been a Solar Pro since 2014, so don't let the baby face fool you. He's super experienced. Has been with Apricot Solar for the last 3 years and has over 300 personal installs with them, which is, I think, the most with Apricot, which is a big organization. He has over 2 million in sales in 1 quarter, sells virtually in multiple states, had led dozens of people towards success in the solar game. So I'm really excited, really happy to have him here. Cameron, thank you so much for being here, man.
Awesome. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me. Thank you for that introduction. That's pretty awesome.
No problem, man. You deserve it. And everybody's watching. If you're as excited as I am to see Cameron's role play, drop excited in the comment right now. And, like, share. This is the time to do it. And if you want to show your name, you have to go to the link on the bottom of the post, StreamYard link, and actually click that so you can show your name. If not, I'll just say Facebook user. But today, I'll be playing the role of the silent homeowner who just wants to get to the numbers. And Cameron will be playing the role of the Solar Pro. So let's get started.
Awesome. So, Joe, I kind of want to set this up appropriately and do the best we can, with the limited amount of time that we have. There's a lot of objection seeking, objection finding that I do in the very beginning. And, I call it the discovery section, the discovery process. And ultimately, that's where the sale is made. If you're getting a lot of objections on the back end of the sale, like when you're actually showing numbers, when you're taking them through and showing them how much, savings they can get with solar and breaking down, the cost analysis over time, and they're throwing objections at that point, that means that we probably didn't spend enough time on the front end getting out objections, getting out their reasons, getting out everything that can, their fear, their uncertainty, their doubt, right? And so I kind of want to start with that process, and then we can jump through the solar presentation. We don't need to do the whole thing because, that's going to take quite some time. But ultimately, let's just start this off as if I just got to the home, and then we'll kind of speed through the process and go from there.
That sounds good. You know what? Thanks, Cameron, man, for having me over. But I just want to make sure I warn you in the beginning that I never buy the first meeting, so don't get your hopes up.
That's not a problem, man. The last thing I'm going to want you to do is sign anything. And so, I'm just curious, how long have you been in the home? It's a beautiful place.
I've been here for the last 15 years.
Nice, man. That's awesome. So you've been here since about 2005, 2006.
Approximately.
You like the neighborhood?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm not going anywhere. This is forever home.
Okay, beautiful. So planning on sticking around. That's nice. Well, you've been here for quite some time. I mean, is this the first time you've ever looked into solar, or have you looked into solar before?
Yeah, no, I'm just getting quotes. I'm just hearing about, how it makes sense. So just going to do a couple of quote shopping and then sign up when I find the best deal.
Right. Absolutely. And so when did you start that process? Was it recent, or have you been looking into solar for quite a while now?
Well, it's been a couple of months. So I think that's usually how long I want to take to make sure I make the right decision. But there is still a couple of things I have to figure out, but yeah, I'm almost there.
Gotcha. Awesome. Okay, cool. So you've been kind of diligent about this for the last couple months, which is nice. But just to kind of clarify, so I know you've been there for about 15 years. Did you just start looking into solar a couple months ago, or is this something that you had previously looked into in the past?
No, I never looked into it in the past. I didn't know that it was actually affordable. I just thought it was way too expensive. And a couple months ago, I got a couple of quotes and got a little excited about it. But like I said, I don't buy right away. So I'm just trying to figure out what the best option is.
Right. Have you sat down with other people, or have you just gotten like online bids, or have you gone through this process with other solar advisors as well?
Yeah, I went through this process, man. So what I want is just the numbers. Can you just email me the quote? I've been there. I've seen this a couple times already.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's not a problem. It's, it seems like you, of course, I don't know about you, but I don't think I would want to sit through dozens of solar presentations. So I get that. So just to kind of clarify though, how has your experience been so far? Have people been handling themselves professionally? Is there any feedback from the people you
They're
said?
it's just too much. They're all like always having these kind of games of like, they're trying to force me to buy today or promotion they're doing to buy today. And I'm just not that type of person. So
Right.
I was just kind of like, trying to figure it out, but I'm also, make sure I make the right decision. I don't want to make the wrong move.
Right. So it almost sounds like they were kind of pushy. They were kind of giving you like, like same day promotions or whatever, and trying to get you to make a decision pretty quickly. So just to kind of clarify, so you sat down with a few people, you want to make sure that you get a good deal. Obviously, that's why you're doing your due diligence. Seems like you've had a little bit of a pushy process, if I'm not mistaken. You've been there for a while. But, if you don't mind me asking, like, what made you even want to look into solar in the first place?
So the reason why I wanted to look at it is I want to save money on my electricity.
Right. Right. And what does that mean for you? Because saving money kind of means different things to different people.
I just want to pay less on my electricity bill, but I don't want to make it worth my time. So
right.
if I can save 25%, I'll take it.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, cool. And, other than kind of what you've already mentioned, obviously you want to make sure you're getting the best deal. Right. But is there anything in particular that would hold you back from going solar?
Yeah, there's one question I do have is that I've been in the house for 15 years. I've never done my roof, so I'm a little worried about that. Like, I don't want to get a solar system, then I have to take it off. Like, what happens if I need a new roof in the future?
Right. Okay, cool. So your main concern is whether or not your roof would be able to support the solar, and what would happen if you needed a new roof in the future after your solar system was installed. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because then I'm worried about the extra costs. Then I have to pay all this money to take the panels off and then put the panels back on, and then I'm gonna be upset later. So I'm trying to not let that happen.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. Cool. Is there any other concerns that you have, or is that pretty much it?
That's it. I was worried about my roof, but I just know that nothing is free. So I'm just a little skeptical of too good to be true kind of deal. So. How is this that I could just save money on my electricity? I know that I had a couple appointments and they were telling me about leases and different options where I could save more money. But then I heard about this ownership option. So is the leasing the better way to go since I can save money on my electricity more?
Just depends on what makes the most sense for the homeowner. But oftentimes it's better than free.
What do you mean?
So imagine this. Imagine everything. Let's say your roof made sense. Let's say you went solar, you got solar on your roof and nothing changed. You paid the same to your PG, you paid the same amount to your electricity company, to the utility. That you basically got free solar, nothing changed, right? But a lot of times, when you put solar on your roof, you get rid of that bill and you pay a lot less. And so you actually create cash flow. And so, I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it just really depends on the home and really, the setup, right? There's a lot of different setups. There's different things that can hold people back from saving money from going solar. And sometimes it doesn't financially make sense to do so, right? But bottom line is this, before we get any further, can I just ask you a quick question, Joe?
What's that?
So if there was a way where you could go solar and there wasn't any upfront cost, that way you didn't have to worry about writing a big old check to get solar on your roof, and you could actually own the system, you knew you're getting the best deal with the best service. You were able to save 25, maybe even 30, 40% a month on your utility, and your roof was in good condition. You didn't have any issues with the roof down the line. Would that help you?
Oh, yeah, that's definitely sign me up for that deal.
Well, I'm not totally sure what we're going to be able to do, but we are partnered with a lot of different programs that allow homeowners to be able to purchase and own solar at no upfront cost. Basically, we design a system to get rid of your utility bill, and ultimately, depending on the program, some programs are associated with the county. A lot of the better programs that we work with that usually save homeowners more money are based on credit. Do you know if your credit's above or below a 650?
Oh, my credit is like 800, man. So I'm not worried about my credit.
Nice. So you probably should be able to qualify for one of our better programs. But if you'd like, Joe, what we can do is I can take you through and kind of show you how this works and give you an opportunity to qualify and then just take it from there.
I definitely want to qualifying the credit. I'm not worried about. I'm worried about the roof. So is there a way I can get somebody to come over and check out my roof without signing anything?
So your main concern is making sure that your roof is in good condition, correct?
Yeah, exactly, man.
Right, absolutely. Well, bottom line is this, if the roof ends up being an issue and we can't do solar, we're not going to install on a roof that's not, feasible, right? If it can't support the solar system, we're not willing to take on the liability, right? So it's a two-way street, man. You're definitely not making a decision to go solar today. There's several steps to this process. And we have to do our vetting just as much as you have to do your vetting with us, right? And just like you're going to look into us, just like you're going to check and see if we're the right fit for you, we have to make sure that we as a company can actually take on this project. Not every home can go solar with us. We're very diligent about making sure that we choose the right homes. That way, we don't put ourselves in a financial obligation that we can't support, right? So, with that said, Joe, what I'd like to do at this point, give me 1 second. I apologize.
No problem.
I should probably just run through it. We actually we're doing this pretty quickly. Is there a way that I can share my screen?
Yeah. So just go ahead and go to share with the plus sign, and you can just go ahead and share the screen you want to share.
Cool. So real quick, Joe, do you know roughly what you're spending on electricity?
So yeah, it should have everything. It was about $200 a month on the electricity.
Right. Okay. I just need to create this. Cool. Let's see here. Cool. Can you see my screen? Oh, wait.
Not yet.
There we go.
Yeah, it says it's blank right now, white screen.
Can you see the little electric bolt?
No, it's just showing a white screen. There it is. Yep.
Cool.
Can you see that?
Give me 1 second. This isn't the right template.
All right, getting the right template ready here.
Wait, what is going on here?
It's because we weren't planning on doing this before. That's why.
We weren't, but I just figured it's probably going to be the most value.
That's great. Let's do it.
There we go. Awesome. Here we go. Cool. So you mentioned you're spending about $200 a month.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is this, when you look at $200 a month, I know you've been in the house for about 15 years now. Is that, is that how much it's always been? Like when, if you were to go back 15 years in the past, was it about the same? Was it a little bit less? Was it?
Oh my God. I remember my bills were like $60 when I first moved in this house, man. It was way cheaper.
Right. So let's just say that, PG&E knocked on your door 15 years ago and said, hey, we have this pretty cool program where you're never going to pay more than $60 a month for electricity. It's always going to be $60. I mean, that would have been a pretty good program, right?
Yeah, I wish I had that.
We probably wouldn't be talking about solar at this point, correct?
No, you would never met me.
Yeah. And so, of course, that's not how it works. We know that the cost of electricity goes up, especially with the utility. And so if I do the math, it looks like you're spending about $2,400 per year.
Yep.
Joe, have you ever thought about how much money you spend on electricity per year?
Man, I just pay my bill every month and hopefully for a lower one the next month, if you know what I mean.
you're like me. I have it on auto pay, so I don't even see it, right?
Exactly.
Obviously you want to keep the lights turned on. And so, when we look at this number, we know that over the course of time that obviously it's going to increase. But let's just say that PG&E stays the same, right? Just to keep the numbers simple. You mentioned that you're going to be here forever. This is your forever home. And so if you're spending $2,400 every single year and nothing changes, how much would you end up spending in 10 years total?
$24,000.
Right. So it's important to recognize that, regardless of what we do, you're already going to spend $24,000 on electricity in 10 years. Now, it's going to sound like a silly question, but I'm actually curious. What would you rather spend 20 grand on instead of PG&E?
I would probably get maybe an electric vehicle down payment or half of I don't know.
You like the Teslas?
Yeah, man, for sure.
I love it, man. Yeah, that's, I've been wanting a Model 3 for a while. They just came out with that the Model, was it the Model Y? That thing looks pretty sick. I love it. But I mean, here we are, Joe. We're just throwing that money away every single month to the utility. We never see it again, right? And so real quick, I know you've been doing this with a few different companies, but I'm just curious, are you familiar with how PG&E bills you for electricity?
Yeah, they bill me every month. It never ends.
Right. And so exactly, it's a perpetual bill. But ultimately, if we look back a few years, in 2016, there were 4 tiers. Does it sound familiar?
I don't really pay attention to that stuff, man. I just pay it and it's getting more expensive.
No, I get it. And so basically what they're doing is in the first tier, they charge you 16 cents per kilowatt hour, which is like a unit of measurement for, like miles a gallon for electricity. But what they do is they give you kind of a limit for how much power you can use at this price. And then when we exceed that limit, when we go over that limit, what happens?
They charge you more. Yeah,
exactly. They bump you into the next tier and then it's more per kilowatt hour. It goes to 22 cents and then it was 24 cents. And then in tier 4, it was 34 cents. And so basically, if we think about it, well, let me ask you real quick, Joe, do you shop at Costco or Sam's Club?
Costco.
I love Costco. I actually go there specifically only, I live by myself, but I go there for this coconut water that I love because it's like $5 a gallon. But if I buy it by the case, it's cheaper, right? We go there to buy in bulk to get a discount, right? And so can you think of another company where the more loyal you are, the more you buy their product, the more they charge you?
Maybe a taxi service?
It's kind of crazy how we pay this, right? Yeah. So now in 2017, PG&E, they made a change and, they kind of said that they were simplifying the bill by removing tier 2. But if we look at it, what happens when they remove tier 2?
Made cheaper, no?
Well, if there's no tier 2, what's the next tier?
Tier 3, so it got more expensive.
Yeah, right. So they get rid of tier 2, you jump into tier 3 faster, right? And so basically it was just a price increase. And so basically what they did on top of that, they raised tier 1 to 18 cents, which was basically a 10% increase alone. The new tier 2, or I guess tier 3, was 26 cents. And then tier 4 went to 39 cents, right? And in 2018, they made another change. It was a little tricky. Basically what they did was they took out tier 3 altogether.
So this goes right into the higher tier.
Well, they got rid of tier 4, I guess, but they switched it to what's called high usage or surcharge. And it's currently 52 cents. The reason they made this change was because it's not classified as a tier. They don't have to go to the CPUC to get approval to raise the rates. And so they can literally charge you whatever they want. Make sense?
That's crazy.
Right. And now, as of the most current increases, they've raised the rates again in March. It was effective March 1st. Now it's 25.9 cents in tier 1. There's no tier 2. And the second tier, the next tier is 30, I think it's 31.7. I'd have to double check a bill though. But ultimately, as you can see, obviously it just keeps going up, right? And kind of the analogy that I use is like, imagine, well, let's just real quick, Joe, did you go, do you remember what you filled up or how much you paid per gallon when you filled up last time for gas?
Oh, it was like $50.
$50. And how much was it per gallon?
I don't remember, but it was like $3 or something.
$3. Okay, perfect. So let's say that you went down to the gas station and you talked to the attendant at the local gas station and said, hey, we have this special promotion. Basically, you're going to get gas for 300 miles at $3 a gallon, right? You're like, okay, cool. So you drive the 300 miles, you come back to the gas station and you're like, hey, I need to fill up again, and the gas station attendant tells you, okay, awesome. So we actually, we have this promotion, for the next 100 miles, it's going to be $4.50 a gallon. And you're like, okay. So you drive the 100 miles, you come back and he says, good news, you can drive the rest of the month as many miles as you want. It's just going to be $10 a gallon. I mean, would that be a good deal?
No, that would make me not want to drive my car anymore.
Would you let your gas station attendant get away with that?
I'll go to another gas station.
Yeah, you're like, I'm going somewhere else, right? And so but why are we letting the utility get away with it?
That makes a lot of sense, man. I never thought about it like that.
Right. And so it's just, like I said, it's kind of crazy how we pay this, right? So I'm going to share my screen again. Let me know if you see it.
Yeah. It's
cool.
It's opening up.
So let me know when you see my screen.
It's open. It looks like it's taking there it goes.
You can see it now?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So basically in this time frame from 2016 to 2017, we experienced a 16% increase, followed by another 12% increase, followed by another 12% increase compounded each year, right? And so real quick, Joe, I'm not sure what you do for work, but did you happen to get a raise at your job last year?
I did actually. How'd you know?
Nice. Was it 16%?
No. It was like 1%.
1%? Oh man.
I think it was like 0.5% actually.
Well, hey, I'm glad you got the raise, but it looks like PG&E decided they deserved a raise as well, right? And there's a plethora of reasons why this is happening. I'm almost a sympathizer with PG&E. They got a lot going on, but obviously things have been mishandled, and here we are. We're paying the price for it. And so, I know you've done your due diligence, but you've been here for 15 years. I'm just curious, why haven't you done anything about PG&E?
It's hard for me to sign the agreement. I don't want to sign an agreement.
Well, Joe, take solar out of the equation. I mean, can you call PG&E and be like, hey, I'm switching utilities. I'm done with this.
No, can't do that. I would have done it a long time ago.
We don't have a choice, right? And so I know you're doing your due diligence now, because when we look at solar, now we do, right? And what the beautiful thing is, we're able to go solar at no upfront cost. Okay, so you don't have to pay anything up front. When I talk about this, and I know that you've mentioned that you don't want to sign agreements. I totally get that, man. And a lot of people, when they say that, they don't want to be locked into something. Well, bottom line is, we don't even know if you can go solar until we take a look at your roof, right? And if you can't go solar because of a roof issue, you're not going solar, right? You're not financially obligated to anything. And so basically, I mean, we got to think there's a site survey that we have to do. We have to confirm your roof's in good shape. We have to confirm that your electrical is in good condition, right? We basically have to confirm the scope of work. There's no charge to you to have an engineer come out and do an inspection. On top of that, we got to, there's a few $100 for permitting. We're not going to ding you a few $100 for permits. We're not even going to charge you for the panels or the installation itself. So literally there's no upfront cost to get solar on your roof, right? Now, let's say everything worked out and you actually went solar. Once it's on your roof, the way these programs work is in the first 18 months, you usually have roughly like a half to a 3/4 payment based on your average PG&E bill.
Okay.
So You mentioned like you would love to save like 25% on your bill. Well, you're usually looking at 25 to 50% right away. And the reason that they have this 18-month fixed payment is to allow you time to claim the tax credit for going solar. Are you aware that there's a tax credit for solar?
Yeah, they were telling me about it, but I don't even know if I'm really even going to get it or not. So I try not even. I assume I don't get it just in case. But yeah, they told me about it though.
Okay. Well, we'll be able to determine that. And so, it's a good thing to know just because, it's 26% of the total system cost is quite a bit of money. It's definitely a huge incentive. And so real quick, Joe, when you pay your taxes, are you filing joints or are you filing single?
Single, just me.
Cool. And do you know if you're earning above $50,000 or below $50,000 before taxes?
Oh, I'm definitely making more than that. I'm at about 130.
Okay, cool. And when you file your taxes, are you getting a refund or do you end up having to pay the IRS, the federal?
I wish I was getting a refund. No, they're taking more from me at the end of the year, man. It's crazy.
Right. Is it more than 1,000 or more than like roughly?
Oh my God, I'm like paying like $20,000 in taxes, man. It's ridiculous.
When you file?
$20,000, man.
You owe 23. Okay, cool. So, you're not going to have any problem claiming the tax credit. If you're earning above $50,000, you're definitely going to be able to claim it. Now, it's basically cash equivalent. If you owe taxes at the end of the year and you get a $10,000 tax credit, but you owe more than that, that $10,000 tax credit will go to just pay that bill, right? So, you're not going to have a problem claiming the credit. It'll just go towards what you owe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that sounds good. That's what they told me, but didn't. So you say I definitely get it then, huh?
Well, based on your income, based on the amount that you owe when you file taxes, absolutely, right?
Okay.
The people that can't.
That's good to know.
Yeah, the people that can't claim a tax credit are the ones that have that don't pay taxes, right? Basically, the IRS is not going to allow you to claim more than what you pay in a year. And so,
I thought I was just going to a different income. So I thought it was just going to lower my tax bracket. So I should get a cash back.
Correct. Well, in your case, it would actually be cash equivalent, right? Because you end up paying taxes, but it's the same thing, right? So it's just going to pay your bill that you owe when you file your taxes, which is important to know. But I mean, are you excited to pay $20,000 to the IRS every year?
Hell no.
Nobody likes that, right? And so that's the beautiful thing about this tax credit. But just to reiterate, the people that can't claim a tax credit are the ones that are like, disabled veterans that aren't even paying taxes, right? Actually, the more income you make, the more you can claim in a tax credit because the more you're paying in taxes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So again, just reiterating, the reason they give you this first 18 months is to allow you time to claim a tax credit. And so once that 18 months is up, it's still monthly for solar. So it's no different than what you're used to with PG&E.
Got it. So I got monthly options from these other companies. What's your monthly payment term?
That's a great question. It depends on what you qualify for. There's a lot of different programs out there, but ultimately our goal is to get you set up with something that's going to make sense. It just, like I said, kind of depends on ultimately what the homeowner qualifies for. And that's why I'm here. We're going to figure all that stuff out. But ultimately, if we look at solar, you're paying one price for your energy. Okay. And what I mean by that is over here, as you know, with these tiers, we pay different prices depending on how much power we use, right?
I didn't know that before. Now I know it. That's crazy.
For solar, it's one flat price. It's also one payment. And so, with your bill, I'm expecting, or I'm assuming that, some months it might be below 200, some months it might be higher, like maybe 300 or 400 in the summer months. You're kind of on that roller coaster. With solar, it's one flat payment every single month. It's the same every month. That way you know how to budget around it. Make sense?
Yeah, no, that's definitely better.
Cool. And then the best part is it never goes up. Okay, so I know you've already kind of looked into solar, but if we just take a second and kind of compare, I know you mentioned if you could have locked in your $60 bill, that would have been great, right? But I mean, could you see that even if you're paying the same as what you're paying now with PG&E on average, but you did this for solar, that this is already a better setup than what you're doing currently?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And how so?
Because why throw away money when I can actually lock it in and have the same payment and not worry about it going higher in the future?
Right. It's the same. It doesn't increase like you said, but you said something very important. Why throw away money, right? Because we got to realize, I mean, when does your PG&E bill go away?
Never. Well, hopefully you guys can do that.
Right. And so the beautiful thing is, like, you can pay this off on your time frame. Let's say you pay off your solar system, you're done paying for electricity. Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Now, any company that installs solar is going to warrant your system. Okay, so this is not separating one company from another. Everybody does this. Basically, you're going to get a 25-year system warranty on your panels, and usually your inverter as well, depending on the setup. But you know, again, it's the industry standard. It's generic. Everybody's doing it. Like I said, it's not separating one company from another. And so the reason that we chose Freedom Forever as our installation company is because they have a 25-year production guarantee. And so, you know, looking at your usage, Joe, I know that you use 10,000 kilowatt hours per year.
Yep.
And so just real quick, I mean, how do you know that I'm going to get you a system that produces this much electricity?
I'm just going to trust you.
Exactly. You know, and I know I have a decent haircut. My mom tells me I'm a good looking guy, but you basically have to trust me, like you said. And so what would happen if your solar system only produces 8,000 kilowatt hours?
I'm knocking at your door, man. That's what happens.
Yeah, which is why I'm not going to give you my address. No. But ultimately, you're right. Like, you know, I don't know about you, but if this happens, like, who would you have to pay the difference to?
Yeah.
So if you need 10,000 kilowatt hours and your solar system only produces 8, you still are going to use the 10,000. So who's going to provide the rest of the kilowatt hours for you?
I have to get it from PG&E.
Right. And so now you have a PG&E bill and a solar bill. I mean, how would that make you feel?
Oh my God. I'll rip the rest of my hair on my head, man.
Right. Like you said, you'd probably be knocking on my door. And I would say, and any reputable company is going to come out and service your equipment, right? They're going to take a look at the panels, take a look at the inverter. But let's just say they tell you everything looks good. They're like, yeah, your panels are working fine. Your inverter's running. It's only been a year. Everything looks great. But you're like, well, wait a second. I still have this bill for 2,000 kilowatt hours. And any companies, they're going to go work up the numbers, right? Figure out, you know, what you need. And they're going to be like, hey, it looks like you just need 4 more panels. And this is how much it's going to cost. So, Joe, now you have to pay for more panels. You have to pay for a utility bill you weren't expecting as well. I mean, how would that make you feel?
Oh, man, I wouldn't want that.
Right. And here's the important thing, man. I know you're looking for the best deal. The reason I bring this up is because a lot of times people will go with the best price and end up getting a partial offset that they weren't expecting because the price looks really good. This factors into price. Would you agree? Having to pay an additional utility bill?
Oh, I don't want to pay anything else. I don't have to. I want to pay as small as possible.
Right. Absolutely. And so, you know, it's just really important to know that savings ultimately is in service, right? We're going to be here to service. And so let's just show you how this would work with the production guarantee. If we're going to promise you 10,000 kilowatt hours, of course, you know, I want to establish trust with every homeowner, but we have to write this number on the first page of your agreement. And if we don't hit that number, we have to pay the bill that you would owe to the utility, and we would have to pay for the 4 panels at our cost, not yours. Does that make sense?
That's pretty good.
It's designed to give you peace of mind, right? And so on top of that, you know, there's we have about 60,000 installations nationwide right now. That's a lot of production guarantees. It's a lot of liability. And so my question is, do you think we're sizing systems just at 10,000?
No.
Or do you think you might go a little bit above that?
Well, hopefully above, so we make sure.
Right, exactly. We build in a 5 to 7% buffer because, you know, we want to make sure that we're not having to pay out reimbursement checks to all of our customers. And so there's a good chance your system will produce a little bit more. But does this production guarantee make sense for you, Joe?
Yeah, no, nobody else, I don't think anybody else told me anything about that. That makes me feel better because I want to make sure I get what I pay for.
Right. Absolutely. Cool. Well, you see the value there. And so this page just reminds me to let you know that we want to offset 100% of your utility bill or your electricity usage. And the reason I bring this up is because a lot of companies will push partial offsets. Now, if you know that it's a partial offset, it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Because you're still getting rid of a huge chunk of your bill. But what I mean by this is like 80% is solar, 20% is the utility. Sometimes it's even like a 70-30 offset, right? And it definitely lowers your cost for solar. But the way we look at this is, 20% of your bill with the utility is like $40 a month, right? 40 eventually is going to turn to 50, and then it's 60. And before you know it, you're like, why did I go solar? That's why we think if you're going to own your panels, if you're going to own your power, might as well just get rid of the whole bill. Make sense?
Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm ready. You got me pumped up. That sounds good to me.
Cool. Now, real quick, have you ever heard of the term net energy metering?
No, what is that?
So this is literally the most important piece we're going to talk about before we wrap up for the day. But ultimately, like I said, we know that you're using 10,000 kilowatt hours per day, or per year, right? So we have to recognize this is 24 hours of power, 365 days a year. The question is, how in the heck are we going to produce all of that electricity with just the sun? Now, I'll be honest with you, I did not go to engineering school. I do not know how to do that math.
Me neither.
I don't think I have something that would make this work. Shoot. That's fine. Well, so I'll just can you still see me, Joe? Or can you only see my screen?
I see you in a mini screen and then see the big screen and then most of the screen.
Okay, cool. So just kind of pay attention here. So we got to recognize that in Northern California, just to kind of simplify this process, it's a huge engineering problem. And like I said, I'm glad I'm not the one that does the math. But ultimately, there's about a 5.5 hour window of usable sunlight in Northern California. This includes rain, cloud cover, winter months, summer months. And so basically, on average, we got 5 hours. If we're going to produce all of your electricity, we would have to produce 24 hours of power in a 5 hour window. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. How does that happen?
So it's based on how your system is sized. But I think what you're asking, and it's a really important question, is like, well, if that's the case, I mean, you can't use 24 hours of power in a 5 hour window, right? And so if that's the case, then you have a bunch of excess energy that you've produced that you're not using. Do you happen to have any idea where that energy ends up going?
Does that go back to PG&E?
Exactly.
They buy it and sell it back to me, right?
So it used to work as a buy and sell, but now it's actually net metering works a little bit differently. And so you're sending the electricity during the day to PG&E, and we got to recognize, I mean, you're the one that's paying for solar, not PG&E, right? So if we think about it, they're literally getting free power. I mean, what do you think they're going to do with free electricity?
Use it and sell it.
Absolutely. They're going to sell it, right? And we got to think that there's retail businesses, there's hospitals and schools, there's restaurants, there's stay-at-home moms and dads and retired folk. There's literally millions of customers that PG&E can turn around and profit off of your solar energy, right? In fact, if we think about it, Joe, you're already paying for solar. You're just paying too much for it.
What do you mean?
I mean, this is a really good thing for PG&E, right? The question is like, how does this make sense for the homeowner? And so basically during the day, you're sending excess energy to the utility and you're going to get a credit for those kilowatt hours. Let me blow this up real quick. Whoops. At night, obviously solar is not working. We don't have moon panels.
Nope.
I don't think Elon's working on that. I could be wrong, but basically you still need electricity at night, right? And so you'll be pulling from the utility, and for those kilowatt hours, you're going to get a debit. Make sense?
Yep.
And so this is happening every single day, night, credit, debit. Make sense?
Got it.
So for every kilowatt hour, basically what's going to happen is you're going to get net metering statements each month from PG&E. And so let's say in 1 month you produce 1,000 with your solar, but you only use 900. Would you get a credit or a debit?
So if I used how much?
If you produce 1,000 with solar, but you only use 900, would you get 100 debit or credit?
So I'll get 100 back to me. So it'll be 100 credit, right?
Exactly. You'd get 100 credit. And so kind of the way this will work, usually, based on your usage, you're using less power in the winter months, the fall, the spring. And so typically you're getting credits in those months. And then in the summer, you're usually using more electricity. That's when you're going to get debits. And so think back. Do you remember like the rollover minutes back in the day?
Yeah, cell phones.
Right. So, I mean, back in high school, when rollover minutes were a thing for me, I had a girlfriend and she loved to talk on the phone, so I never saw rollover minutes. But these credits act as rollover minutes. They roll over each month and offset future debits. And then on the anniversary of when your system gets turned on is when you reconcile with PG&E. Make sense?
Oh, okay.
It's called a true-up statement. And so there's a few different scenarios. Again, we're producing 100% of your power. We're guaranteeing that, right? And so let's say we hit our production guarantee. We produce the 10,000 kilowatt hours, but it happens that you just use 500 additional kilowatt hours. What do you think would happen?
So it would come back, right?
So if we produce 10,000 kilowatt hours, we hit our production, right? But you happen to just use 500 additional kilowatt hours above those 10,000. Do you know what would happen in that case?
Well, don't you production guarantee it, so you give it back?
So we're guaranteeing 10,000. That's 100% of your power, right?
Okay. Oh, so then I get charged from PG&E then the rest.
Right. I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. And so, but if we think about it, Joe, you would have paid for that electricity whether you go solar or not, right? So that's really not a problem. Now on the flip side, like I said earlier, we have a 5 to 7% buffer, and there's a chance your system will produce more than what we guarantee. And if that's the case, then and you don't use all of that energy, PG&E will actually credit you the difference. But it's important to know that they're only going to credit you 3 to 4 cents per kilowatt hour.
Oh my God, that's like nothing compared to what I'm paying, right?
Right. And so, it definitely doesn't make sense to like oversize your system, because then you just pay too much for solar and there's really no financial benefit. Does that make sense? Got it. Cool. Now, Joe, even if this works perfectly and you net zero with the utility on the anniversary date, there's still going to be a bill for solar. With the utility, that is. You're still going to have to pay for the interconnection. We're still connected to the grid. Obviously, it's basically a maintenance fee. Of course, we want them to maintain their lines, right? The other option would be to do batteries. And so, I'm just curious, based on your home, you have a 200 amp service. And so, we could do like the battery setup where you don't pay anything to the utility kind of thing. It's really not an option, but basically one battery offsets 20 amps on average. And so for your home, you would need like between 5 to 10 batteries, and they cost anywhere from $9,000 to $11,000 per battery.
Yeah, so, no, thank you. I think I'm good with that, man.
Right. So instead of paying like $50,000 to $100,000 in batteries, we just pay the $10 a month.
Okay, I see what you're saying now. Yeah, so it's a good deal.
Right. Now, on top of that, if you look at the second page of your bill, there's some incremental charges called non-bypassable charges, or NBCs. They're basically taxes, and we still have to pay taxes when we go solar. And so they average out to about 2 cents per kilowatt hour. And it's important to know that you're already paying taxes on all of your energy now. But when you go solar, PG&E can't tax the sun. At least. True. Not yet. They haven't figured that one out. And
Better not.
So Joe, just to kind of get an idea, are you, hold on one second. Are you kind of do you stay up pretty late? Are you a night owl or do you guys go to bed pretty early?
I'm in bed by 10 o'clock.
Okay, cool. So that's pretty average. You know, the average homeowner uses about 20% of their energy at night. And so if I take, I don't know if you can see my screen or not, but if I take 10,000 kilowatt hours, multiply that by 20% and multiply that by 2 cents, you're looking at about a $40-ish cost that you're still going to have for taxes. Okay. And that's per year. Okay. So it's just important to know that you're looking at, you know, maybe $160 to, I don't know, maybe like $220 that you're still going to owe to the utility per year.
God, which is a lot less than what it is now. So that's okay.
Right. I mean, if you could choose between 220 and 2,400, I think I know.
Yeah. I'll take 220. Let's go.
Right. And so, you know, obviously it's not perfect. I just want you to be prepared for what to expect. You know, a lot of people in the solar industry aren't aware of these non-bypassable charges. And so I just want you to kind of know what to expect, right? But, you know, Joe, I don't know about you. When I look at this, to me, it seems like it's a pretty fair deal, right? We pay $10 a month and some taxes to basically store all of our energy with the utility. And right now with PG&E, for every kilowatt hour that you send to the utility, you receive the whole kilowatt hour back. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. And, you know, a lot of homeowners will ask me like, well, Cameron, you know, like I said, it seems like a pretty fair deal, but, you know, I'm just curious. I know how PG&E works. How long is this going to last? It's definitely not going to last forever. In fact, they've already announced that they're planning on changing it sometime this year. And so, you know, and if you look at other states, this is not how it works. But basically what they're going to do is they're going to increase this interconnection fee, which San Diego Gas and Electric did this back in 2019. The taxes are also going to increase. And this 1-to-1 ratio is going to start to sunset down. Mm-hmm. And so, like I said, in other states, it works a little bit differently. You know, with Nevada, with NV Energy, Warren Buffett's company, for every kilowatt hour that you send to the utility, you're only receiving 85% of it back. It's a 1-to-0.85 ratio. And so we either have to oversize your system or just eat the cost to the utility. On the flip side, if you look at, there's a utility in Arizona that has a 1-to-0.75 ratio. There's also a utility in Utah that has a 1-to-0.65 ratio. And so basically, as more and more homes go solar, the window for solar with the utility starts to close. And what they're going to do is they're going to start to sunset down these credits, and it's going to become more expensive to go solar with the utility. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. I definitely want to go solar. I'm just trying to figure out which solar company I want to go with.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I just want to make sure that you're aware of how all of this works. And, you know,
I didn't know before, but you told me a lot, man. I appreciate the education because this is good stuff I didn't even think about before.
Right. And so I know you've sat down with other companies and you've done yourself a service because you're looking into solar now. This is really only a concern for wait and see neighbors. And so for everybody that's already gone solar, and everybody that's going solar now, you're actually on a 20-year agreement for your net metering, which is actually enforced by the CPUC. Okay, so as things start to change, which they will, in fact, they've already changed already, but you're going to keep your $10 fixed, your taxes won't go up, and your 1-to-1 ratio is locked in as well.
You know, that sounds amazing, man. Everything sounds great. I definitely want to do this. I want a technician to come over my house. So I like your deal. I think it's the best one I've seen out of everybody. I just wasn't prepared to sign an agreement today.
Absolutely, man. And so if to me, what it sounds like is you're just, you want to make sure that you can actually go solar, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. I mean, can you see any reason why not to do something like this?
No, like you explained it very thoroughly. I definitely want to go solar. I hope I can.
Right. Absolutely. Well, would it help you if I showed you what the next steps look like?
Yeah, what would that look like?
Cool. So I don't know if you saw the car that I pulled up in. I'm driving a little Subaru.
Yeah, I saw that.
Just so you know, I don't have solar panels in my car. In fact, I don't even own a utility belt. I'm definitely not getting on your roof. Point is, we're not going solar today, right? And so it's really important to know that. And so it's super easy. I know you want to get a site inspection completed, right? There's only one way to do that. It's filling out preliminary paperwork. But like I said earlier, we're not going solar today. And we don't even know if our company can take on this project because like you are concerned about your roof. We're just as concerned, if not more. We want to make sure that this is a project we can take on. And so ultimately, we can start the process today. We can knock out the preliminary paperwork and get a site assessment completed. That's going to confirm the scope of work. That's going to tell us exactly how many panels you need to offset the power that we're guaranteeing. That may or may not change. And if there are changes, Joe, you're the one that has to sign off on them, right? And so the way that we do this is once the site assessment's completed, I come back out and review everything. It's at least 10 days before we sit down again to review whether or not this is actually a project we can take on. And at that point, if there's no changes, we're on the fast track to getting installed. But there's no upfront cost for you to go solar today. All we have to do is complete the preliminary agreement with Freedom, set aside your solar funding, and knock out a net energy metering agreement with the utility. That way we can actually see if this is even a viable solution for your home.
You got me. Can't say no to you, Cameron. I am closed. We are closed. Great job, Cameron, man. That was awesome, bro. Hey, is that like, this is kind of a normal presentation for you? Is this kind of how it goes, like, talking to homeowners these days?
I do that 4 times a day, my man. I don't change anything. It's just about solidifying where their objections are and doing that in the very beginning, right? And so if you guys were watching this, it's so important to look at their objections on the front end. If you know that they don't want to sign any paperwork in the first 15 minutes, that gives you so much more leverage. I call it in the sales industry, we call it ammunition. The more ammo you have, the more chances you have of helping a homeowner make a buying decision today, right? They're not going solar until we know for certain that everything is lined up, right? And so I have a lot of leverage coming into a home. Half the time there aren't changes, but sometimes, for example, I had one of my reps, he had a system with tree shade analysis in place that was 47 panels. He had to go back and get it up to 64 just to hit the production. That's like almost 20 panels difference. There's obviously going to be a difference in cost. And so we don't really actually truly know how much your system is going to run, how much kilowatts you need, et cetera, until that site assessment is completed. And so for me, it's super easy to get paperwork completed. The problem is, are they going to actually go forward to installation? And so then is where the actual work begins. Getting a homeowner to sign documents is relatively simple if you follow a process, right? A lot of people in the solar industry, they lack the training. They don't have the education necessarily. They get thrown into the field and they're just a natural. They'll go close deals, but they're not following a process. They're going out there and they're just kind of, whimsically going about it. There's a rep in our company that's at the top of the leaderboard a lot. His name's Eduardo. He's a beast. Before he came into Apricot, he kind of just
shout out Eduardo.
Say that again?
There's a shout out to Eduardo.
Yeah, he's a beast, man. And so he, he would come into a home and he didn't have a process. He didn't have a presentation. He would just, kind of charm people into making a decision. Hey, I actually have a very important call coming in. Give me 1 second.
You got it, man.
Yes, sir.
So everybody that's watching right now, this is a good time to put a comment in the section. We're going to we have a couple more minutes with Cameron. We're going to do a short Solar Pro Q&A. So go ahead, answer your questions, put in the comments. As Cameron's on the phone, we'll go through the comments in the section here. So we got David Childer said, get it. We got let's go. We had a fan of the music in the intro, I guess. Thank you. Go Solar Joe, go. So good, bro. The boy Camo from Cameron Marr. Facebook user said fire. We got a little more here. Good stuff. Wish I could stay on. Great info, guys. Cam's pitch is hella nice. I could have told you that. The apricot pitch is fire.
See, Cameron Mayer knows what's up. That's not my pitch. I learned that from my mentor, my trainer, Dave Bangle, who's our CEO. I can't take credit. I just am really good at copying and pasting.
Well, it sounds like it. Shout out to Dave Bangle too then. You got some more fans there. Good stuff. But do you get the itch if it is a PPA? Oh, do you get the ITC if it's a PPA? No, you do not. Ed is a beast. Good stuff. Awesome stuff. I know you have to go, man. Let me get like 2 questions in real quick, and I'll let you get out of here. That's cool.
Yeah, no worries, man.
So I was kind of curious about. I know that you're so experienced with virtual. What is kind of like you work different states. So I was kind of curious about your. What states do you like? What states do you have more success in? You kind of get a little background on that too.
Yeah. So. I actually don't really do virtual much anymore. We're spending quite a bit of money on marketing for in-home appointments. There's not a lot of virtual. Okay. But during the pandemic, in the beginning, we had to make adjustments because obviously people were turning us away. And so we weren't getting into homes. And so the states that I had the most success in, California by far is the best place to sell solar, and I encourage people that are in this chat, if you own a company and you're not in California, to get in California. It's the easiest place to train people on how to sell solar because there's upfront savings right away, no matter what, even if there's a care discount, there's very few instances where there's not upfront savings. And so, if you're planning on scaling a business, you want people to get comfortable with the process, and it's just easy in California. It just makes the most sense. More people are going solar, more people know about solar. Obviously you got to deal with competition. That's part of the process in California. And then the next best state for me was Texas. People are just so lenient. They're so, they're just really, really nice. They're easy to work with. They're pleasant. And you can still make a lot of sense in about solar, even if the monthly payment's the same as what they're averaging on their utility bill. I would rather own my electricity and be able to pay it off than rent it. And so, I don't really focus too much on virtual anymore, but my main states are California, Colorado, and then Texas and Florida.
So what's your ratio? Are you doing mostly in-home pretty much, or is it kind of I know you said mostly in-home, but what's kind of the ratio with phone? Do you do phone too?
I'm all in-home or all in-home right now. And so it kind of varies, I haven't really been virtual or over the phone. And if it's over the phone, I'm getting them on Zoom. It's just so much easier to have somebody make a buying decision for a $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 system or more when they know who they're working with. And it's the most intimate you can get in terms of virtual / phone sales. And so for me, I'm always going to lead to a Zoom eventually. I don't do over the phone. There's just so much visual that in my process that I would literally have to completely deconstruct everything I do and learn a new process, which, personally doesn't make sense for me to do that. It would take too much time and honestly cost too much money. So, right now it's 100% in-home, unless if I get a self-gen from one of my reps in another state and I can do a virtual, I will. But it's pretty much all in-home right now.
I appreciate that. Now, in-home, you definitely get a higher closing percentage, I think, but there's different benefits and detractors. All right, so I'm going to let you go. But last question, just so a lot of people are watching and want to kind of learn from you. Do you have any go ahead. Do you have any tips for other solar pros not that one, I'm sorry. Do you have any tips for newer solar pros in the industry?
Get a mentor. Get somebody that you can learn from and develop a process, and be consistent. There's so many people in solar that end up leaving the industry or just don't have success, mainly because they're not consistent, right? Consistency over time beats talent and skill every single time. If you can be consistent, it doesn't really matter how much skill you have because you're going to develop that skill over time. And so it's just about putting that work, especially in the beginning, and shortening the track. And so what I mean by that is, you know, do more work in a shorter amount of time to get the results you're looking for, right? And detach yourself from the results. Marry the process, divorce the results. If you fall in love with the process of door knocking or running in home appointments, and you're not attached to the result of that, you're going to come in with a lot more leverage, because you're not going to come off as needy. You're not going to be pushy, and you're just doing the deal, right? You love what you do. And so, you know, be consistent, you know, get a mentor if you have one, or if you can find one to help you, and marry the process, divorce the results.
Man, Cameron, thanks so much for being here, man. I know you're a super busy guy. If anybody wants to reach out to you, how can people reach out to you?
So, you know, you guys can reach out to me on Facebook. I don't know if I can put a comment in there. How do I post something?
You pretty much can't right now, but you can shout it out.
Yeah. So if you guys want, you can, you know, direct message me on Facebook. I'm also very active on Instagram. My Instagram is my name at Cameron McBeth, all lowercase. So if you want to reach me out there, I'm pretty active on that as well. But yeah, I'm here to help. You know, I want to make sure that the solar industry is protected. You know, it's definitely the best opportunity in the history of mankind. And you know, we're very blessed to have the opportunity to go in and close down, you know, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 deals, helping the environment, helping people. You know, it's literally the easiest thing to sell. It just requires a little bit of diligence, a little bit of learning, and lots of activity.
That's so true, man. We got one more comment before we go. Leon Thomas said, "Smooth close." So great job, Cameron. And next week we're gonna have another Super Solar Pro, Mr. Ben Mack. He's amazing, so I'm glad to have him on here. But Cameron, again, man, thank you so much. You were amazing, bro. We got to do it again sometime. Okay.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Over and out. Peace.